consumer confidence, business confidence, record lows. Are we going into a recession? Yes, we are. Look at business confidence and look at consumer confidence. Business confidence is lower than when we were shut down for 2 years through COVID.
It was Kathy Wood who talked about how we've kind of been going through, and she calls it a rolling recession, where it's since post-COVID, it's going through each individual sector at its own rate in its own time, unlike the entire economy going.
If Canada's putting 100 or 500% tariff on some good, and the US pushes back and says, well, we're going to match those tariffs, and guess what? At some point, some bureaucrat's going to sit across from another bureaucrat, US, Canada, and go,
why don't we just drop these tariffs completely? We go square.
It's going to be tumultuous as hell for 90 days. Now, I wanted to get your take on this, Patrick. It was, I think, last week or the week before, there was a big RBC economist, the economist for RBC, that did an update on tariffs and so on and so forth. I haven't got to listen to it yet because I've been dealing with this ice storm. But I sent it to you. Did you get to listen to it, or you haven't got there yet?
I didn't. I saw one that you sent me from a Bloomberg. Was that the RBC guy?
No, the RBC guy was before that.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, gotcha. So I was curious to see what their takes are, and because no doubt tariffs right now is dominating the conversation. I seriously cannot go anywhere without hearing about these darn tariffs. I mean, they're just everywhere. And even if you don't consume the news, because I don't consume any news, like literally when I'm driving into work in the morning, the news on the radio comes on and I always mute it. I don't listen to any news, zero news in my life, but it still dominates everyone's conversation nowadays. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. It doesn't matter who what you're talking about. It seems it's always come back to tariffs and how terrible this is going to be for everybody.
Well, listen, I think first and foremost is that so much rhetoric, and, officially as we're recording this, tariffs are going to kick in, some conversation around it. I'm not going to be surprised at all if Trump backs off. He, soft sells a bunch of stuff. And so there's always been a lot of tariffs in place. So all of a sudden people are getting some form of education into what has already been happening in the tariff world. Many didn't realize that Canada has a lot of tariffs on the US, and all Trump is doing is pushing back. All to say this, all of these conversation around tariffs, and I don't care if it's the politicians beaking off about it, it's all nothing until final decisions are made. And many are reacting. There are things that are being put in place that we're not even privy to, like they're not being listed. But I think ultimately the dust is going to settle. It's going to take some time. But think about it, JG. If Canada's putting 100 or 500% tariff on some good, and the US pushes back and says, well, we're going to match those tariffs, they're ultimately going to negate each other. And guess what? At some point, some bureaucrat's going to sit across from another bureaucrat, US, Canada, and go, why don't we just drop these tariffs completely? We go square. So all I'm saying is I don't want to call it a nothing burger, but man, oh man, people are just caught up in the hype and the drama and the bullshit, and it makes no sense. Like, just relax. It's also Trump's way of being. It's part of his negotiating tactic. So that's all my kind of.
But I think you're right, Patrick. I think that there's an element of this, and I think it's tariffs is the current topic of the day, if you will. But whether it's the tariffs, whether it's the geopolitical stuff, whether it's COVID before that, doesn't matter what the case is. The point is that it seems like people just are getting on these bandwagons with much more fervor and much more craziness than ever before. And I think social media has a lot to do. I think the fact that everyone has access to everything, everyone has an opinion on everything nowadays. I was listening to one guy the other day. He said, remember the days when we didn't tell people who we voted for because it was like your own decision and you just didn't talk about that? Wow, where did those days go? Now it's like everyone's got their opinions on social and everyone's saying stuff. And it's like, and I mean, I get it. That's what social media is all about, is expressing yourself. And I mean, I understand that element of it, but it's amazing how people think, oh, I'm just expressing, I'm just putting it out, but they're also consuming, and that consumption is fueling them for most people in a negative way, because they get themselves all amped up and all. And, at the end of the day, you only have one choice to make, and you should make your own choice. And that's that. But the cards are going to go where the cards go.
Well, I think there's a couple of things around it. So first off, I don't want to minimize and or negate that some businesses are really at the effect of what is going on. But ultimately, a lot of it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. They've got a lot of momentum. People don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Many don't even understand the concept of it, but they're just pissed off at the US. I mean, how freaking ridiculous is it that you're going to boo a national anthem, that you're going to key Tesla vehicles? I mean, it's just beyond ridiculous of what's happening. But here's the thing about it. We've got a couple of charts, and this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Look at business confidence and look at consumer confidence. I mean, record lows, JG. I mean, business confidence is lower than when we were shut down for 2 years through COVID. Like, I mean, how ridiculous has it gotten? Now, here's the thing about it, and let me just go off on a bit of a tangent for a moment, is that what we're seeing in this, consumer confidence, first and foremost, we collectively have beat this drum to death, which is that Canada is a non-productive country. Consumerism is a huge part of it. Now what's happening is consumers are freaked out. They're nervous. They're not spending money, which is going to slow the economy down. Then there is the tariff drama and the rhetoric and what is real, what's not. Most of it nobody can control anyways. But having said that, businesses are in a tough spot to make really important decisions like, do I buy more inventory? Oh, consumers aren't buying. I'm not going to bring more inventory in. Oh, I'm not going to hire anybody. I'm not going to go to the bank for a loan because interest rates are too high to expand on my small manufacturing business, or whatever it may be. The whole point of it is that consumer confidence, business confidence, record lows. Are we going into a recession? Yes, we are. But this will drive it, and we're not going to feel it for probably another 90 days, JG. The lag effect, you and I know that one well. And so in about 90 days, I'm guessing, I'm kind of just guesstimating, is we're really going to feel the impact of all of this. But here's the thing. It's all a lot of drama with no definitives being hit or stated by either Trump or Canada. So we'll find out over the next week or two what's real and what's not.
Well, I still don't think we're going to find over the next week or two, because that's just the beginning. We're really going to find out after the new government gets elected, at the end of the month, and then they're going to enter new negotiations, because this government is only doing as much as they they're doing what they're doing. Whether that's right or wrong, the point is that we're going to have a new government at the end of the month, and then I think the negotiations get opened back up again, and then we're going to find out. So really, we got 6, and I said this in the last episode, Patrick. I said to people, it's going to be tumultuous as hell for 90 days. I said that. I think I said 80 or 90 days, which is exactly what it's going to be. So it's going to be a couple more months of craziness. There's no doubt about it. So people have to strap in and get ready.
Well, 100%. And, you make a good point, is that, and that's another issue though, right? Here we are, a country with, do we have a government? Okay, well, we've got a non-elected prime minister making frickin' decisions and on a platform that is disconnected from what is happening in Canada. Why is this platform around a climate crisis, climate change, when we've got an economy that's melting down, when we don't have productivity, when we've got so many other key issues? His whole platform is, okay, we're going green. We're going to save the planet from itself because, we're putting in these carbon changes. They pull off carbon tax, they'll pass it on to the business, it'll get passed on to the consumer. Again,
it won't be any different.
It won't be any different. And so ultimately, to your point, we're going to go through, I can't help, some would argue we're already in a recession, and it depends where you are in the scale of life. So are you, service sector, lower income, you're getting hammered, middle income getting hammered. So unless you're, really in that upper 5 percentile, you're not feeling good about what's going on. And even the high net worth individuals are going, okay, we got to slow this train down. And some of them are just saying, I'm going to sit in cash because when this train wrecks, I'm going in, and that's what they're waiting.
Yeah, it was Kathy Wood who talked about how we've kind of been going through, and she was obviously referring to the U.S., but I think Canada suffered from it too. She calls it a rolling recession, where it's since post COVID, it's going through each individual sector at its own rate in its own time, unlike the entire economy going. And listen, if you're in the real estate business, like if you're in the construction business, if you're in the construction business where you're typically building subdivisions and you've been booming from 2010 to 2023, let me tell you, you're going to say, oh no, we're in a recession. We've been in a recession for 18 months, you're going to say. So it really depends where you are, like you said, Patrick, which part of the economy you're working in, and which, and how it affects you. That stuff is all going to reverberate at different speeds for different people. But I want to come back to something you said, which I think is so critical. You talked about how this is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and I couldn't agree with you more. And if anyone's listening to this, I think that's the one thing people need to get out of this, Patrick, is, in 2008, I took a course, which was one of the best courses I've ever taken. And it was a course called Create Your Own Economy. And it was essentially just talking about exactly what you're talking about, which is this stuff becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you start getting into this negative mindset, and this isn't about being, just being positive. It has nothing to do with that. But the point is you get more of what you consume. And if all you're consuming is negative crap day to day, day in, day out, all you're going to see is more negative crap. And that just continues to spiral in that direction. I could tell you that that's not what you're doing, Patrick. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what the best investors in the world are doing. That's not what your wife, Stephanie Hanlon's doing, an Olympic coach. We're not consuming this negative crap. We get educated. Yes. We have to make decisions. Yes. But then we quickly switch the channel, so to speak, and get on the right board. So, this is the time to lean into those kinds of things where you can create your own economy, because the opportunities will be there more than ever. And I feel like a broken record. I've been saying that for a while now, many, many months. But it's true. The opportunities are there, but you got to have your eyes open for them.
So if you like these episodes and you want to learn more about what's going on with real estate in Canada, investing in real estate, and understanding how to invest in real estate the right way, head on down to the descriptions below. Follow those links.